All right, good morning, everybody, and we'll call the November 13th meeting of the Downtown Parking Committee to order. Can I have the roll call, please?
Committee Member Labrie.
Present.
Committee Member Evers.
Here.
Committee Member McRae.
Present.
Committee Member Stahl.
Present.
Vice Chair Newkirk.
Here.
Chair Pinner.
Here.
Committee Member Pratt is absent. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you very much. Do we have any requested changes to the agenda, agenda today?
No changes to the agenda, Chair Pinner.
Okay, great. And this time we'll move on to public comment. This is the opportunity for anyone in the public wishing to comment on anything within the jurisdiction of this committee, but not on today's agenda. Do we have any public speaking slips or anyone online?
No speakers.
Okay, thank you. We'll close public comment and we'll move on to announcements. Anything to announce?
Yes, Chair Pinner, we have two announcements this morning. First off, I just want to introduce our new Deputy City Administrator. This is his first visit to the Downtown Parking Committee, and so we're very happy to have him on board as our new director for this program, among others. And then also going to throw it over to Roy Forney for a very important and exciting operational announcement.
Great, thank you. Before Roy comes up, I just want to say welcome from the committee as well. We look forward to your involvement and efforts with our group, so thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Roy.
Committee members, I'm Roy Forney, the Downtown Parking Supervisor. Just wanted to announce, I'm sorry, I missed it. My voice, Karen. Wanted to announce that we are very happy to announce that the Helena parking lot started accepting payments yesterday. And so we are up and running with, at least right now, temporary signs, but collecting fees and writing courtesy warnings for those who don't pay, just to kind of get everybody up and running to understanding how the new system works at our Helena parking lot. We collected $81 yesterday. It was a bit slow, but I'm sure it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, and our weekends will probably be most popular. But it's nice if you guys have time, go by and check it out. And we have our Luke 2 there collecting payments, and we are at right now pay and display, just kind of exactly what Waterfront is doing, and then at some point we'll move to pay by plate. So proud to announce it, and we're up and running. Any questions?
Any questions from the committee on that topic? Great.
Okay.
I know it's a heavy lift to get that first one going, so we appreciate the efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other announcements?
Nothing more this morning.
Okay, then we will move on to the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I've reviewed the minutes and would submit them for approval.
Thank you. We have a first from Mr. Labrie. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Newkirk. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, call for the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay. We'll move on to our next item, which is on the administrative agenda. This is basically, in essence, a follow-up from our last meeting. Staff, do you have anything you want to report first on this, or do you want to just take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Pinner. So at the last meeting, of course, you all had the opportunity to receive a presentation and comment on the proposed redevelopment of Paseo Nuevo, as well as the accompanying housing project that would be proposed for a portion of the current site of Lot 2. So at that meeting, you all moved to sort of formalize your comments in the form of a transmittal letter to City Council. So the chair and the vice chair, per your direction, have taken a first cut at drafting that letter. And so for today, no formal presentation. We just had the letter available and up for you all to discuss and to finalize. So I have it up on the screen. We have Tess Harris here from the Paseo Nuevo, who is working on the Paseo Nuevo project for the city, and she's available to answer questions if need be.
Great. Great, thank you very much. So from the standpoint of the chair, just to share Vice Chair Newkirk and myself, with the help of staff, did work to develop this letter. The goal was hopefully to highlight the concerns that we heard or topics or ideas that we heard at the previous meeting. And due to our meetings typically being limited in time, it was very difficult to sort of deliberate forever on this topic to come up with this letter. So the idea was to produce this transmittal and now have the opportunity for the committee to weigh in if it meets the intended goals of the committee to pass on information to the council and the decision makers. And so hopefully you've had the opportunity to read it. Mainly just for the benefit of the community, the fact that we're online, it highlighted, I think we have six topics. One being recognizing the importance of redevelopment and revitalization downtown, concerns regarding impacts to the parking supply and demand now and in the future, how it might affect the structural operations of Lot 2. Item 4 was impacts to future development. We had comment on the banking of the credits and the affordable units, and we had concerns with the limitations in the city charter. So those are the main topics, and so I will open it up for discussion or questions of the committee regarding this transmittal. Who wants to go first? Unless it's that way.
Public comment on it, too.
Yeah, yeah. Unless there's, yeah. We also can open public comment if there's no questions from the committee yet. So why don't I do that just to make sure we cover that base? So I'm going to open up public comment.
There are no speakers.
No speakers, okay. So we'll close public comment. So any questions from committee, concerns, additional ideas? This is not I think it's in fairly, hopefully good form, but it's open for modification. Mr. Labrie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the work that went into the letter, and I think it really does a good job of reflecting the conversation. Had a question and a suggestion, and the question would be to Ms. Harris, is to get a little bit of color on any further discussions that may have been had since we last discussed this, and if there are any changes to the proposal that we might expect to see in the near future. And then the suggestion would just be that we CC Planning Commission on the letter.
Yes, Committee Member Labrie and committee members. We are still planning to go to City Council on December 2nd with the disposition and development agreement. That council report is in the final stages of being drafted, and the letter, should it be approved by the committee today, would be an attachment to that, along with the comments that we received from the Planning Commission and the Historic Landmarks Commission. One of the things that did change from our meetings when we came to Downtown Parking Committee along with HLC and PC was the conversation around banking affordable units. So at one point in time, the applicant had a request to potentially bank units that weren't part of the 10% required affordable. That is no longer on the table. The city team and the applicant team have had conversations and negotiated that and decided that that is not something that's going to be moving forward in the disposition agreement. So you can certainly still be providing comments on that, but you won't see that in the staff report. Another piece of it is that the applicant in the disposition agreement has a couple options for the affordable units. So there is an option in the agreement where they could build the affordable units at Lot 2. I believe it says no less than 45 units up to 80 units. So somewhere between 45 and 80 units at parking Lot 2. Or they could elect to build the required affordable units in the former Macy's building and elect not to pursue Lot 2. If they did that other option, that would be the 10% affordable units, so it would be 24 units out of the 233. So 233 total, 209 market rate, 24 affordable. And then the Lot 2 piece could become something that they may pursue at a later date. So they could build the Macy's site and open it with affordable units and then elect to either forego the Lot 2 site, or they could elect to within 5 years to move forward with a Lot 2 site and then transfer the affordable units over to that site.
Mr. Newkirk.
Yeah, thanks, Tess. I had a follow-up about, so for the affordable, we've heard about like 80 units on Lot 2. So now all they'd be obligated to provide is 45. That's right?
Committee Member Newkirk, there's been a few different discussions with a few different groups, and so in a couple of the discussions that we have heard comments from commissioners that this space felt too large and wanting that there was a desire to have the same or very similar amenities to the market rate units in the affordable units. So they're looking at ways to put all of those amenities in the affordable site itself and then reconfigure that space a little bit. There's been some conversation, so the affordable housing provider has not been identified, but in earlier conversations with the housing authority for the city, they had some concerns about 80 units on that particular site in the overall size. So I think that's been a conversation that's sort of been going on sort of in the background with them. We have been saying 80 units, and that was actually a number that came from the applicant, not from staff initially. So I think our expectation is that they are going to try to get as many units as possible, but there is some flexibility in the agreement if they decide to move forward there.
Okay, and just so like, there, just because I think it's important, like for us thinking about like the sacrificing of Lot 2, what's the benefit? We're kind of now looking at 21 BMR units is kind of the net difference of utilizing the portion of Lot 2.
Committee Member Newkirk, yes, I see sort of where you're going with this. I think one of the things that the committee could consider is providing a comment that indicates if the applicant was to pursue Lot 2, what the preference of the committee might be. So if that is more units, then that may not be something that the committee wants to do, but that is what you'll see in the disposition agreement. I will note the disposition agreement is also going to be available when the council report is released. We're trying to get it released by November 24th, so there'll be a little over a week time. I know that's the Thanksgiving week, but trying to get it sort of as quickly as possible out so there's time to review the actual agreement and not just the council report.
So what you're suggesting, if we're having trouble with our relatives, we'll have something to read over the holiday.
Exactly.
Mr. LaBrie.
Mr. Chair, a follow-up on Mr. Newkirk's question. Is there do you have the number of lost parking spaces between those two plans? The 80 versus the smaller number?
Committee Member LaBrie, I don't have that number at the time. They're still studying what Lot 2 would look like overall. So the agreement gives the option so they can continue to study the differences in the units, but I don't know what the change in parking would be. I would imagine, just from conversation, I do understand that it's a pretty clean removal of the one bay. I'm not sure how you do that without sort of slicing it off right at that space. You might still end up with the same loss regardless of the number of units. It's likely to be the same, like a similar mass in building, might be a reduced height, but a similar massing. Again, because they're looking for spaces for more amenities and open space areas, other things in that development that are more in line with the market rate development.
Different line of question. What? Go
I
ahead.
just want to also sort of clarify, there is that option in the disposition agreement. When the project came before you and before the Planning Commission, one of the slides that was shown for the affordable units had shown 85 units. So they actually had more units than what we had mentioned at 80. So I'm just saying this as I do think there's a desire to try to get as many units into that site. That has been something that the city has been advocating for. That is one of the largest benefits for the city in pursuing this project.
At our last meeting, Mr. Hensky was very responsive and good, but kind of at the end of the conversation, the loss of Lot 2 seemed to be tied inextricably to the application of the state bonus density exemption that allows the developer to choose one condition to be exempt from, and in this case, the height limit. And I made the point, hopefully it was understood, that it seems like we are doing these gymnastics to solve a problem that we've created, that we're going to lose a tremendous amount of parking to the public just to allow this height to exceed our own self-imposed height restriction, which I understand is part of the charter, and is kind of a monumental lift to update the charter, though, I think the community deserves to ask and answer that question at some point. It seems like we're trying to essentially not use a loophole, but figure a way through our own mess when the two don't necessarily, there's not a great nexus for the connection. It's just the path. This is just the path that is available. And has there been any discussion about finding a more creative way? I mean, to solve the problem, or to separate the two so that we don't have to give up such a huge asset to the general public?
Yes, Committee Member Labrie, there has been conversation about, and you'll see it when the disposition agreement comes out, the applicant could elect to, perhaps there is another property very nearby with adjacency to the Paseo Nuevo inline shops and Macy's and Nordstrom's parcel. That could theoretically be purchased by the applicant, and then that site could be built. So there are a couple of locations near Lot 2 without sort of, going into exactly what those are, where the applicant, should they choose to do so, could have a conversation with property owners in the area and see if there's an interest in selling property. That is something that I think the team is exploring. I know that doesn't exactly get at the question that you're asking. I mean, we are stuck with a state density bonus law and the requirement for adjacency. We have done, initially the project came in and they were looking at Lot 10. And because Lot 10 wasn't adjacent enough, there was a parcel in between, it was determined that it didn't qualify, it didn't meet the state density bonus law requirement. So I understand the concern. I think this is sort of just where we are given the state law and given our current height restrictions. You also mentioned we have heard from this committee, from commissions and from members of the public, the idea of a charter amendment. That was something that was discussed very early on in this project back in 2023, I believe, under different city administration. And at that time, a decision was made not to move forward. We're now at sort of a different stage in the agreement, and so that's certainly still a possibility that council could elect to pursue. That does mean, that's a vote next November, and is a delay from the timeline that we are expecting this project should it move forward. So that's ultimately going to be a choice that council needs to make and determine whether, whether they want to pursue that. There's some risk involved with that as well.
Any other questions for Ms. Harris? Mr. Newkirk?
Yeah, on because the land bank, or the BMR banking is one of our items in the letter. So you mentioned that's kind of off the table. Is there any mention of it, like an affirmative negation of future banking in the DDA?
Committee Member Newkirk, there's not mention of it because
Okay.
we are not planning to pursue it. I suppose at a future, should council elect that they wanted to pursue a policy at a future date to allow banking in general for affordable units citywide or downtown-wide, that is an option that they could theoretically pursue at that point. So it doesn't say that, there isn't, that it would not happen regardless of what happens in the future, but because there is no mention of it, our team feels confident that we have communicated very clearly that banking is not an option for this project.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions for Ms. Harris? Well, if not, I should have said this at the beginning. We want to thank you for all the effort that you are putting into this monumental project. It's a large lift, and you're doing a tremendous amount of work, and we really greatly appreciate you being here today. So
Thank you.
you for that.
Absolutely. And if you have any questions as you go through the letter, I've read the letter in anticipation that we'll be attaching it. So I'm, more than happy to answer questions as you go through it. Certainly appreciate the comments from this committee, and they're important for council to hear.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. And there might be more, so don't leave us yet. Oh, see, already. Mr. Newkirk.
Yeah, and this is kind of going back to Committee Member LaBrie's comment about ceasing PC, because it's my understanding that this project might not go back to PC. I'm supportive of ceasing, the whole world, sure. But when this project eventually moves forward, after a potential agreement is in place, who, if anyone, will actually hear and make decisions on the project in the future?
If the project moves forward in the entitlement stage, it would go to the Historic Landmarks Commission. So you are correct, it does not return to other bodies, including the Planning Commission. There was a conceptual review that's part of the pre-application process where a pre-application gets a concept review at Planning Commission and a concept review at HLC. And then it would move forward. There's an option to do an additional concept review at HLC if the applicant chose to do so, or they could just move straight into the preliminary and final design meetings with the Historic Landmarks Commission.
Okay, so just as a follow-up to that, I'm supportive of ceasing PC, but I think also HLC would be appropriate then.
Thank you, Mr. Newkirk. Any other questions at this moment? Okay. We'll reserve our time for more conversation with Ms. Harris if we need it. I do have a question for staff, and wanted your thoughts, input on our item 6, which is the concerns with the limitations in the city charter. And the question is actually somewhat directed beyond just this agreement. How does the impact of the city charter having only a 50-year lease term potentially impact our ability with some of our surface lots? Should we ever decide to want to develop those into multi-story structures with lower income housing and things of that nature? Would the charter have a limit on that as well? And would that not be something to include in this letter if it does?
Committee Member Pinner and members of the committee, you raise a good point, and that is something that we, as city staff have been discussing as well. The charter currently does limit any city property to 50 years. So if there's a ground lease, it is a 50-year ground lease without the opportunity for extension. And that would mean that if we were interested in pursuing a housing project or another project on one of the city parking lots, we would be limited to that time frame, and that time frame is just not typically enough to actually get somebody in to do development, traditional development. So that is something that on a larger scale, the city may want to consider looking at.
Thank you. And that, for my follow-up to that, this to the committee now, is that sort of historically, if we look at the, I don't know, what we call it, the Carrillo lot, which is now Jacaranda Court, we ended up sort of transferring that land to a development process. But had we had a longer-term lease opportunity, that's something that we could have pursued to lease that land. And I see that as the glaring reason to consider, or should be considering, or adding to this language, to this letter, not only the fact the charter amendment could be impactful for future parking assets. So I don't know if that is appropriate to add to this letter. I'm just bringing it up that I think it's a larger concern than just the Paseo Nuevo project that it really impacts. And so I'd hate to go, it's a great idea, but we're up against the gun. We're going to do it later, and then it impacted our largest city property with probably the most value. Ms. Clark.
Yeah, certainly, Chair Pinner. So under number 6, you close off the paragraph by noting that such amendments may also prove valuable for additional development at other city sites. We could certainly, at the pleasure of the committee, revise that language to specify including redevelopment of other parking lots or something similar to that. So,
Sorry, it took off. Yes, yeah, and I remember that discussion we had, and maybe in hearing this and trying to make the position about the city amendment more impactful than that a sentence, more than just that sentence could be and should be included. I don't know if it needs to be more explicit to just other city sites, but we may want to specifically mention parking. Just, that's just, I wanted to get that discussion out there because I really do think we're all frustrated with the Jacaranda. I shouldn't say we all. Some people were not on the committee at the time. I apologize, but the committee at the time was not generally in favor of that process, and so I don't think we want to see it happen again. And so that's one of my important concerns. So one other question to staff: a couple of our comments in the letter are saying, "Hey, we need more information on the structural impact. Hey, we need more study on." The impacts of parking generally downtown. I understand that this is basically a letter to council saying, we need this information. I would say based on the path or timing we're going, that information is not going to be available for council when they're doing these deliberations for the agreement. Am I accurate on that?
I'll defer to Tess, but I believe that it's unlikely that we'll have significantly additional information to discuss.
That's correct. Committee Member Pinner, the comments have been received by the applicant, and I know they are working on many of those items, but I don't anticipate that those items will be attached to the council report in time for the December 2nd meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Labrie.
Question for Ms. Harris. In the DDA, who is responsible for the financial remodel of the remainder of the parking lot in Lot 2?
Committee Member Labrie, I believe it is the applicant or the developer. I would need to confirm that, but I believe it's the developer. Meaning that they would need to deliver a free and clear site, including shoring up Lot 2 to an affordable housing provider. I will be very transparent. While I wrote the council report and have been very involved, I am not the attorney and did not do like all of the negotiation in the disposition agreement. So we have been going back and forth with the applicant even up, through this week. So I just want to be cautious in responding to that. That's my understanding of it.
And since you're so close to the project, has there been any engineering or architectural back of the napkin to know whether or not the circulation and flow of the remainder of Lot 2 would work?
Committee Member Labrie, yes, there has been, and there has been, that was a question that we raised earlier on, and the team feels confident that that can work. There's certainly more work to be done on the structural analysis of Lot 2, and I think part of that is for the team to decide whether they're going to pursue that first. But that is something that they feel pretty confident about and had brought in a structural team to actually look at that site.
So, and I
And
think
the circulation as well.
the circulation is the heart of my question, because the ramp up and down the center has 90-degree parking. It has enough room to change the flow of traffic back and, to have two-way traffic. The outside aisle closest to the mall, I don't think does. And I, would defer to experts, obviously, but that seems like that's going to be a problem.
Yes, Committee Member Labrie, we did look at the size of both of the actual parking spaces and then of the aisles. And I think our team needs to look at that again when they resubmit that information or when they submit that information. But from the first review with their team, they felt like there was enough space for two drive aisles along with the parking that exists today. There might need to be some reconfiguration of the stalls. Beyond that, I would need to defer to the structural team or transportation team.
I am old enough to have been around for the construction of Lot 6, and there was a very difficult moment when the project and the city realized that the structure, they had not anticipated that the structure would cause the removal of the on-street parking. And it was, it was an issue. I think what I would anticipate, and again, I'm not an architect, but I would think on the outside aisle, we would lose half of the parking. We wouldn't be able to have, parking on both sides of that aisle. That, and I think the city, everybody needs to understand how much public parking we would be losing. And right now, it seems like the whole decision-making process is being, a lot of public input is being held at arm's length because the housing is such, and the revitalization of the mall is so important. But the ultimate loss of parking, whether it's half of Lot 2 or, it's 400 plus spaces are going to be lost to the public, not spaces total, but spaces are going to be either assigned or redeveloped. That's a lot. And then if you reconfigure Lot 2 and we lose half the parking on those outside aisles, that's even more. So I would appreciate if City Council and everybody understood the true loss of public parking. Sorry, that's more of a comment. We're asking questions. I'm on my soapbox for the moment. But.
I think comment taken. All I can really say beyond that, just because of my expertise or lack of, is that there has been a lot of work done to determine how many spaces would be lost in Lot 2. So I do have confidence that, yes, it's 186 spaces, but I do not anticipate that additional spaces would be lost. I recognize the comment, though, and I think, in the letter, the committee had requested that some more analysis be done. That's certainly something that, the staff team can emphasize in the letter.
Thank you. I think the appropriate, for time purposes, and unless there's more questions, and the questions might come up as we do this, I'd prefer probably at this point just to go through the 6 bullet points, and as a committee, sort of, we'll take a motion at the end. I don't want to take 6 different motions, but a motion at the end. But basically, go through the letter and determine either we're happy with that paragraph or there should be a change to that paragraph. I think we could do that at this point. And then that should hopefully move us to a motion to move the letter forward. So I'm going to just start with one. Is there any comment or question or modifications requested to item one, which is the redevelopment and revitalization, that we generally support the revitalization of the site? Any proposed changes there? I'm seeing heads nodding no. Okay, with item two, impacts to parking supply and demand. This is sort of a comment that, we're concerned about the net reduction, as Mr. Labrie was putting out here with regards to available parking. Is there any comments that we'd like to change in this section? Mr. Labrie.
I keep trying to throw out a number of like around 400 of lost parking to the general public, and I think the number it's hard to really nail down, but because I'd like to see a reconfiguration of Lot 2 as it's proposed, and confirm that number the loss isn't bigger than I think, but just to the writers of the letter and to the committee, I would advocate for something a little bit more clear about the loss of public parking. And just as a side note, the original DDA said that the onus was on the city, but if there was a loss of parking, that it could be rebuilt within a 2-block radius. That DDA went away and was replaced, but just the idea that, see, we're losing parking now, and I remember when the mall was active and that parking lot was full, and I think everybody hopes that our downtown community will be back to that point, and we will have a parking problem, if you will, again, because we're so busy. But at that point, it will be a very bitter pill to swallow if we're considering rebuilding parking on another site to accommodate, the increased demand. So apologies. My point is, I think the loss, the kind of the number or magnitude could be better highlighted in paragraph 2.
Mr. Newkirk.
Yeah, to Committee Labrie's comment, I'm a little uneasy about putting in even scope and scale number, because I really don't think we know. Maybe, I don't know if this would satisfy your comment, but if we put in significant before reduction in the first line to emphasize at least a little bit of the scale, I think that would make sense. I think throwing out the 400 number, I don't think we really understand. I mean, that's part of the problem, is I don't think we really understand what the number really is.
Mr. Labrie.
And I see Tess is coming up. When reading the report, I think my concern is that the staff report doesn't distinguish between spaces lost to the general public and spaces physically lost. And our purview and our responsibility is to the general public and the parking supply and the vitality downtown, and for the benefit of all cultural, business, residential, all the users that come downtown. So to me, the importance is to highlight, for this committee, it would be to bring attention to the loss of publicly accessible spaces. And so that is maybe at the heart. It's maybe not necessarily a number. I don't see how it's less than 400, but Tess?
So to the committee members and just the comments. So of Lot 1, there would be 28 new parking spaces that would be built, and 233, presumably one space per market rate unit, would be reserved for residential, meaning that when you subtract those 204 spaces would be dedicated for residential and would not necessarily be for public use. So that would be, I think, in what the the Downtown Parking Committee is probably trying to say here that's a loss of 204 spaces to the public unless there was a decision made that those residential spaces were not dedicated to the individual units. But that, so that's lot one. And then lot two, with the removal of one bay, is a loss of 186 spaces. So that gets you at about 390. Beyond that, I know I recognize the comment of the circulation change and that there may be potential other changes there. I think at this point, that's the best number I can give you based on what we have.
Thank you. And if I could add, I think the committees I think what the committee in this letter in this section is saying, hey, we don't have all the information. We've heard some of it, but we don't have all the information, and we need information to better advise you, right? I think the problem is we're running up against a time frame to try to make this letter maybe be like, hey, let's get that information in this letter. Because I think what this is also trying to say is, if you were to build, and we don't know where this is yet, that's the problem. If it was 80 units in Lot 2, not only do we lose the 186 parking spaces, but now there's going to be a fair amount of parking in that lot that's going to be used probably by the 80 units. And then that's less sort of those aren't reserved residential units, but it's probably going to be some sort of use of that. So now we've reduced it more. So again, I think to your point, but I'm trying to figure out how to, basically we're saying, decision maker, we need more information to properly inform you. You're trying to say, this is the information we have and we don't like it. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Maybe the committee would appreciate just if we could add a comment or an admonition to carefully analyze the loss of publicly accessible spaces.
Yeah, I think we do that
Maybe that's
in
right.
Lot 4. I mean, not lot, excuse me, Lot 4.
Point four.
Bullet 4 in the letter. So let me maybe back to item 2. Is there one language tweak I would add is the committee is concerned, and based on our conversations, I would put extremely or strenuously, or, I'd add a stronger language that we're really concerned about this. So I would add the significantly concerned probably as hiding the concern. We get to see it right up in front of us. The committee is extremely concerned about the significant.
I like that.
No, she just had it on the wrong side. There we go. But I read it the right way. It's the information needed to make a proper analysis, and that's a lot of this letter is saying we just don't have that information, and decision maker, you should have this information before going forward. So is there any other suggested language to item 2? And we can come back. It's not like item 2, until we make the motion, it's not over. Let me suggest then move to item 3. This is also the discussion about the structural operational circulation elements, basically. I think we're highlighting that the committee hasn't even seen a layout of how this is going to work. And so it's very difficult for us to say, we think it's a great lot now, or we just don't know. I don't know that we have to add the word extremely on everything, but we can put extreme, put a big word extreme across the whole thing there. Is there any requested language changes? Mr. Newkirk.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have anywhere in here, and I don't know if maybe we modify this about the cost of the work, the funding of the work.
Okay.
I don't know exactly. Maybe we could just throw in including the loss of bay work, or somewhere at the end of that first sentence, or somewhere.
Well, you could say, if we have in the last sentence, we request the developer provide a clear layout, circulation plan, structural feasibility, and financial impacts to the city. And that's not right. Any proposed
And the funding for such.
Okay, and funding for, I think what we're trying to get at, Ms. Clark, is that we don't want confusion at the end of the day, like, yeah, we took care of building the housing, but the rest of the stuff in your lot's on you. Am I correct in what you're trying to get at?
Yeah, and I think, the Housing Authority, I think, brought up comments of Planning Commission about kind of the funding for kind of this affordable component on Lot 2 and like how we're going to get to actually putting people in those units. And I
Okay,
think
so
part of
you're
that-
speaking not just funding, fixing the lot, but the funding mechanism for the,
I mean about like the partial demolition, like who's on the hook for that cost?
okay, what, do we want to be as specific? Do we have, well, you're just, and plan for funding the partial demolition and associated work.
I think, could we add something that's not just the demolition, but the restoration? Like, to specify the associated work as putting it back to a usable space?
Reconstruction, perhaps.
Yeah.
Including,
Configuration.
wait for it,
Because it's just restriping, reconfiguration.
okay. Does that get closer to what you're looking for? Okay. Any other proposed modifications to paragraph 3? All right, seeing nothing, we'll go to item 4. This is a little bit, I think, also to your area, Mr. LaBrie. This is about, we as the committee are concerned that not enough analysis has been done sort of on the general parking, all right, of this lot, and what are we anticipating our needs? So 5, 10 years, we don't go, man, someone should have thought about the fact that you're planning this many new units or this much more development without parking. How does that work? So does this get you to your strong enough?
Could we add the loss of capacity in Lot 1 and Lot 2?
Yep.
And I would
Yes.
also, I would expect too that the new spaces that are at ground level are likely to be kind of operated like Saks Fifth Avenue's back parking as reserved for the operation of the tenant. That's never been stated, but yeah, no, the loss of Lot 1 and 2, that
I
would
would-
make me happy.
Is it fair to say in the letter, like, that at the time of writing, the estimate is close to 400 spots lost to public access? Because I think to actually attach a number, which at 390, I think it's fair to say close to 400, might be a bit more impactful than just saying extremely, but showing like, this is why we're extreme about it.
Understood. Mr. Newkirk has a thought to that?
I think that's actually an undercount, because it's like 390 that we know about, and then you have the affordable component. And one of the things that bugs me is with the market rate, we don't know what those units look like. And if those are like 3-bedroom units, it's not 1 car per unit. It just isn't. And where are those cars going to go? They're going to go in Lot 2, presumably. So like, to me, it's like, I actually think 400 underrepresents it, but I just don't have a good sense for what the actual number is.
So we don't have consensus yet. I mean, I think your comment of adding a number is great. I'm also, I guess we are concerned that it underrepresents, and someone says that's a reasonable trade-off.
Yeah, I guess I'm concerned that otherwise people will think it's like the 200 and not kind of, that in their minds, if we don't have a high number, people will assume sort of the lowest number they've seen anywhere of what's lost and not take into account the ones that are already being reassigned or privatized, let's say, even though they're still parking spots, they're being privatized in a sense.
So if you were to say the loss of capacity in Lot 1 at Lot 2 at a minimum of 400, approximately 400 spaces, is that?
I would say, yeah, or something like over 400. Either way. I'm good, I'm good with like a clause to suggest.
I'd like
that-
to give it a high number because I agree with you. I think it will go over 400, also with what you were saying about circulation. So if we say at minimum, or, yeah, something to suggest it was going to be over 400 because I agree.
So the loss, the loss of capacity in Lot 1 and Lot 2, I don't know if it's a parentheses, estimated at 400 spaces or more, I don't know.
Estimated.
Clause with commas?
That works for me. My concern with the question of over 400 is, it gives a argument that staff will say, well, it says it's only 390 some units, and so you get into an argument over this number. So, because I think our point is, we feel that's going to be more, the point is, we want more data, like you're saying. What is the makeup of the apartments to even know how this impacts? So she's doing it. Just, if I was doing this, it would take twice as long to type it, just, That's based on our age, Matt. Can we look at the actual? 390, you said?
390?
204 plus 186. 390, yes.
What about something like that?
Well, we still need to keep the lot 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Can we visit the actual loss of public parking capacity in the proposed project will exceed the 390 spaces currently estimated? I'm comfortable with that. Does that get to our goal? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Clark, for helping us through these
That's what I'm here for.
wordsmithing. Item 5, or did you have something else?
One,
McCray.
I was thinking about in this section as well as the second paragraph of section 2, because it's a big concept where we're talking about future demand downtown. Because not only with, I guess in my mind, with more and more separate housing projects being approved without parking, we don't know yet how that's going to affect demand, and so it's all going to kind of come in together. And so this is a big project, but I believe that some of this parking it's gonna overfill somewhere, and so it's either perhaps that second paragraph.
You say second paragraph or second sentence?
The second paragraph of part 2.
Okay.
It relates to, I think it's somehow tied to this impacts to future development with these other projects.
The top of the page here, is that what you're speaking about?
Yes, exactly that. It's a big concept. Obviously it's talking about the entire downtown
Yeah.
impact, but
But I think the
But I think
goal
it's
of this
important.
part is saying, we'd like to have that studied before you make this massive decision.
yep.
So does this letter accurately reflect, though, that concern, do you feel? We agree with you. That's exactly what the intent of that was. We want to make sure that you feel that this paragraph accurately reflects that.
Yes, and I guess I have a question, which is when would we, obviously we won't have this anytime soon, but how will we, do we need to provide any more detail there, or just simply?
I think we're saying that you shouldn't be making this decision without this information. I think that's the general gist of the committees here, saying you're making a decision without having that analysis done yet, and we're recommending that analysis be done.
Great.
Item 5, the baking of credit affordable units. Appreciate the comment, but that's probably going away. I still think it should just be in there. I don't think it's needed to be taken out. If it's got to be done, then it just recognizes our desire for maybe what already is happening. And then item 6, concerns with limitations in the city charter. I think I would want, as we've discussed here, and I was involved with the letter, so I get it, but the last sentence about such amendments may also prove valuable for additional development of other city sites. I feel like we need to strengthen that a little bit about not just other city sites, but the potential redevelopment of surface lots, because that's very then specific to the purview of this committee. So you could put before other city sites, the additional development on public parking lots, public surface lots. I'm not sure how. Mr. Newkirk's also really good at this part. What do you think, Mr. Newkirk?
I mean, we could go or after site, say, including redevelopment of other city parking lots. Or,
Okay, so you want to move it to, highlight it at the end there? I get it.
and I guess, do we want to limit it to surface? I mean, I know that's where I know that's what the most obvious, but do you want to just say city-owned parking
It's fine.
facilities or something like that?
Yeah, I get the point. The by far the lowest hanging fruit is a surface lot, not a structure that exists, but you never know. I get that.
Now we know.
But now we know, yeah.
You did.
But it could,
I thought structures would be certainly off the table. That's the first one to be challenged.
point well taken. It's probably not, I'm going to ask staff, does it help to indicate that, again, I call it Jacaranda Court, I don't know what we called it before, but basically say to eliminate that problem that happened at this, I don't know how that information gets to them to understand that there was, without the charter meant we did not have the ability to do what we would like to do now.
Chair Pinner, I think that if you're referencing, Jacaranda Court specifically, there might be some dispute as to whether or not that was a good trade-off for the city to make. So, very much understood this committee's position on transferring that land, but I'm not sure that position would necessarily be shared.
Okay,
So.
I understand. Mr. McCray.
Besides the height and the term length limitations that were called out here, are there any city charter limitations that we have run into in the past that would be worth mentioning?
None that I'm aware of, but I'll let staff opine.
None that I am aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I think I think that's pretty much it, with the addition, if you could go to the CCs, and just, oh, you've already added, thank you. Historic Landmarks Commission. I think we want to leave Planning Commission there. Even though they have plenty of documents to read, we'll send you another one. All right. I guess I'll either entertain a motion or look to hear any more changes, final thoughts.
Chair Pratt, if
Yeah.
I can, why don't I just go over and confirm Chair Pratt, sorry, Pinner.
He's not even here.
I know.
Congratulations, Mr. Pratt. You've been voted chair while you're gone.
Apologies, invoking the spirit of Committee Member Pratt.
1 sec, Mr. Newkirk has one more comment.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is, I don't actually know what the best practice is on this, but if we have a letter, because we have, and I don't know what the vote will be yet, it's if we have unanimity, then there's 6 of us, but one member that's not here is on the letter. Is that like a standard practice for something like this, where like, even if you have a majority, we list everyone, or should it be from Downtown Parking Committee? I don't know what the, in sympathy to the committee member who's not here, I just wanted to ask that question.
Vice Chair Newkirk, that's an interesting question, and I don't know that there would necessarily be an answer. I could certainly clean it up by just removing the names, or I could just leave the chair and the vice chair. It's up to you.
I'm actually of the mind to leave the names there. He's not going to vote no or yes, so you're just listing who's on the committee, so I don't know that that's
Okay.
a concern of mine, unless it can be a motion can include that, or a motion can exclude that. Mr. Labrie, is you?
I'd just like to, I guess, make a motion if the committee's ready, that staff finalize the letter with the comments made this morning and forward to council and planning commission and anyone who wants to read it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Cray, a second. Okay, any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, Ms. Harris. We really appreciate you. All right, motion, and thank you to staff, too, for working through this. We appreciate it, the heavy lift. And I will, just this is maybe a procedural follow-up question. When this, before we close this item, when this item comes before the city council, is it appropriate for the chair or the vice chair to be able to reference this letter, highlight it at the public meeting?
Chair Pinner, yes, that would be appropriate.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to item number 3, I think. Excuse me.
Chair Pinner, thank you. I'll welcome up Mr. Pitney to the podium. And I just want to set the context for this Q1 financial report. This FY26 budget year is really one of stabilization, and then we're looking in FY27 towards more tweaking that will help us to rebuild our reserves. What's really important as a goal overall for this fiscal year was effectively to come in about 5% ahead of previous years. And so we're doing a lot of year-over-year comparisons. I'll note that there were 3 changes that the committee had, and that Downtown Parking had pursued for this year. One of which was the Helena parking lot pilot effort, which is currently underway. The other 2 tweaks are sort of been held up. One was removed from our fee resolution before adoption of the budget, and the other sort of changes in streamlining of timed parking restrictions was held off, so as not to disrupt kind of downtown. So one of the things that's really important is our fine tuning of our operation and how we forecast these trends. So I really want to appreciate the work that Mr. Pitney and our team have done to really try to read in between occupancy and revenue to see what trends are happening in our downtown and how that's affecting our revenue. And so we're really excited to actually be able to share this Q1 report. And thank you again, Mr. Pitney.
Thank you, Ed.
Before you start, just one comment for our newer members, just to recognize, so when we speak first quarter, this is starting in July, since our fiscal year starts July. So if you're wondering about that, that's the reason.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
morning, committee members, Chair Pinner. My name is Ethan, and I'm going to be providing a review on our Q1 financials. So we have a sole occupancy slide today for you guys. And the purpose of this slide is more to show a comparison between our 2 primary parker types rather than occupancy trends. This is a more macro view of occupancy. So this includes all lots, all days of the week. And you can see here the makeup of hourly parkers versus permit holders and the effect that they have on occupancy on our lots. One thing that I think is kind of interesting to note is permit holders or monthly permits have historically accounted for roughly 20% of the parking revenue, but they account for a little over, or no, roughly 30% of occupancy. So I think that kind of points to, permits being a good value proposition for users who need more frequent access to our parking lots. Here's a look at some duration data through the first quarter of the last 4 fiscal years. So you can see transactions have been trending upward, both overall transactions and paid transactions since fiscal year 24 have been on an upward trend. Important thing to note also is FY23, the hourly rate was $2.50, and from FY24 onward, it's been $3 per hour after the 75-minute courtesy period. So paid transactions have been increasing, which is a positive sign, and the free percentage has been pretty consistent, and it actually we've seen a reduction in the percentage of free tickets in quarter 1 of FY26 over the last 2 fiscal years. So also a positive sign. Another thing, the average stay did increase slightly over last year. And then, yeah, and revenue for per paid transaction has been pretty consistent, definitely increased from FY23 to FY24, mostly because of that increase in hourly rate. Here's a look at overall parking revenue. So hourly parking revenue has been strong. You can see especially in our surface lots. Another thing to point out for FY26 over the previous fiscal year, we did extend the hours in several lots, so lots 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, and lot 12. On Fridays and Saturdays, they're now staying open later until 2 a.m. So there is a longer period of revenue collection in those lots on Friday and Saturday. So that could be part of the reason why we're seeing that increase year over year.
Starting what year?
That was in May of this year. So that would be fiscal year 26, fiscal year 25. That change had not been made yet. So
Can I also ask a question just to
Yeah.
clarify? So the SWEB, that's the SWEB mobile, right?
Yeah, that's
So
correct, yeah.
isn't that basically an hourly,
it is.
but it's below the hourly total?
Yeah.
Is it hard to account for
We
it that
have
way?
it separated out. I mean, you can do it either way, but
Okay.
I think it kind of shows, how much usage the SWEB is getting over time.
Yeah, I agree. I just was wondering if maybe for future, that should be up in the hourly numbers, not in the, I mean,
That's a good point.
is
And
prepaid cards would sort of be hourly
prepaid cards
used,
could
right?
be, yeah, they would be.
So I guess I'm just suggesting those items should be up in the hourly and permit separate,
Yep.
that's all.
I
I think it's great
I
to
agree
see
with
that, how SWEB payments are doing, it shows you that a pretty small percentage of our surface lot payments are being done by SWEB, although I use it and I love it. But, I just think it should be in the different category.
No, I appreciate the comment. I actually agree with that as well. So, and then permit revenue. So that includes our monthly permit holders and then also commuter permit holders to kind of maintain a consistent baseline for comparison. So in fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24, those would have been the CODA and Korea commuter lots. And then fiscal year 25 is when that CODA lot transition happened. So 25 and 26 include those legacy permit holders that transition primarily to lots 10 and 2. So parking revenue, we carry the total over from the previous slide. You can see has consistently gone up over the last 4 fiscal years. Next line item there is PBIA revenue. So you'll notice it is down through the first quarter of fiscal year 2026. And looking at data from October, that trend has actually reversed. So you see a roughly $37,000 shortfall from the previous fiscal year. That's been cut in half. So now we're only about 18,000 down through October. And I want to appreciate our finance department for working diligently with outreach, with the downtown businesses, and helping with the self-assessment process. Rents have maintained pretty steady, but we are expecting a positive, an increase in the near future as we continue work to fill some of those vacant units that we're working with, potential tenants currently. So we do expect that to turn around. Another thing for outdoor business facilities, in fiscal year 2026, we did stop receiving revenue for those facilities on the promenade. So that line item is now zero. And then
Mr. Pitney, just to clarify, we stopped receiving outdoor business facility revenue to the parking fund. So that's still collecting.
Now
still collecting, yeah.
goes to the general fund now, because the offset, we're not taking care of the plaza, too.
Yep, exactly. And then
I'm happy with that trade-off, just so you know.
That final line item there, transfers and other revenues. So that would include things such as transfers from the general fund, as well as reimbursements, things like revenue from our residential permit parking program, or other revenues such as interest income that aren't necessarily considered, revenue like operational income, but they do certainly contribute to the bottom line. So we do include them in the total revenue figure. Okay, and then here's a look at the downtown parking, the net income over the last 4 fiscal years. So we have the revenue up top. Expenditures, which we'll get into more detail on the next slide, are down over last year. And that's primarily due to the decrease in the downtown parking fund's role in funding promenade maintenance and cleaning over last year. So you see operating net before capital is slightly up over last year. And then we have the overall fund net once the capital transfers out have been accounted for. And here's a look at expenditures by category. Overall salaries, benefits, and allocated costs are generally more fixed, so we don't see as much change. The supplies and services line item, that reduction from last year is primarily going to be due to the shift in responsibilities on the promenade. And then overall, you can see, that was primarily made up that difference there for the reduction in overall expenses year over year. Okay, and now we'll look at a little closer look at revenue and how our different parking types are contributing to the parking fund's revenue. So on this slide here, you can see the light blue bars are hourly parking revenue for the first quarter of fiscal year 2026. So you can see lot 5 and 11, and also 6 and 7 more recently are very strong there. And then that dark blue bar is going to be permit revenue. So one interesting thing to take away from this slide is lot 6 actually, for the first quarter of fiscal year 26, we did see more permit revenue than hourly revenue in that lot. But overall, hourly revenue does continue to make up the majority of our parking revenue. Here's a look at revenue per space. And this basically takes the revenue figure for each lot, and then we factor in the space count. So you can kind of see this chart here does strongly correlate with occupancy. So generally you can conclude that lots with higher revenue per space are seeing higher occupancy. And then for this figure here, I did include permit revenue as well, just to kind of get a look at the overall picture. One interesting thing is lot 7, although overall revenue was less than lot 6, you can see that the revenue per space is actually noticeably higher, and that does make sense because lot 7 fills up pretty regularly. So, and then of course lot 5 and lot 11 are usual suspects here because they're smaller surface lots with good good locations, so those ones are very efficient. Okay, here's a look at just hourly revenue over the last 3 fiscal years. You can see that we have seen upticks in some of our more popular lots. Lot 6 also for hourly revenue has increased. Lot 7 and Lot 9 for fiscal year 26, slight decreases, and that's mostly due to we did have closures in Lot 7 for the roundabout repair work that was done, and then Lot 9, the roof deck repair work was closed for a little bit in August. One thing on Lot 9, we are very much looking forward to the SPIF remodel of the Santa Barbara International Film Festival Theater. So we're very much looking forward to the future of that project, and then Lot 9, the occupancy turning around there, and also the tenants that will be moving in next door as well. And here's a look at permit revenue for our parking garages, and then also Lot 13, which is surface lot. These are the main lots where we offer parking permits. So you can see upticks pretty consistently. Lot 7, that one is down a little bit, but that's mostly because we haven't been issuing new permits there for about a year now, just due to occupancy. That lot is getting pretty full, so it doesn't quite paint the full picture of Lot 7. We just haven't been offering additional permits there. Lot 10 also with the majority of the legacy permit holders from the Coda lot. That one has seen an uptick in revenue, and then also for the first quarter of fiscal year 2026, we did reduce the monthly permit rate there from $145 a month to $70 a month. And despite that, we have had quite a few additional permit holders being added to that lot. Even despite that rate essentially being cut in half, we did see revenue up over last year when it was the $145 a month. Okay, I think I got 2 more slides, then we'll take questions. Okay, this slide here shows the overall permit count for our monthly lots and then also our commuter lots. So you can see in the first quarter of fiscal year 25, that's when the Coda lot closed and was began its repurposing. So we saw about 200 permit holders move from the Coda lot to Lot 10 there. And we also did add, roughly 100 permit holders over that time period as well. So that kind of shows that large increase there. And then it's remained pretty consistent since then. For fiscal year 26, first quarter of fiscal year 26, you'll see that it's kind of flat from the last 2 quarters. But one thing to kind of note here was we did have our transition to the new permit management program, our ski data e-com system, which involved the transition of roughly 950 permit holders into a completely new system. So I definitely want to show appreciation for our front counter team and also our operations team who helped handle some of the call volume because, as you can imagine, there was a lot of help that was going on. Kind of jokingly say that our office sounded more like a customer service call center for a few weeks there than a parking office. So. Definitely huge appreciation to the team, helping over the phone and on Zoom calls and things like that, getting everyone, smoothly transitioned to the new system. So, let's see. Oh, and then the commuter lot. So after fiscal year 25, the first quarter, we were only operating the Carrillo commuter lot, and you can see that number officially dipped down to 0 now that the Carrillo commuter lot is closed. So the last day of parking in that lot for permit holders was October 31st, and those who were interested were transitioned to Lot 2 at that legacy rate. So, and then very last slide, this just shows permit count by lot. You can see Lot 6 has historically been, one of the primary lots for permit holders, and you can see Lot 10 has increased quite a bit as well. Also with that reduction in the permit rate, you can see it's now about equivalent with Lot 6. And then, we also have, Lot 7, which kind of has a slight decline. And then the commuter lots are also included there as well. So, sorry, I realize I talked probably a little too much about permits, but I'm
That's
happy
all
to
right.
answer any
It's
questions you guys have.
Good data for us to get. We appreciate your, we know you like the numbers, and we
Yeah.
like getting, we love all the graphs. It's
Right.
very, very helpful. Thank you. Are there any questions of staff? And then I'll do public comment, and then we'll do comments. So any questions? Mr. Newkirk?
Yeah, I had a question about the Q1 occupancy slide too, I guess. Like, it looks like the overall occupancy has been like pretty static for most of the day. And then there's like this kind of year over year like drop in the evening. Like, do we have a sense for what's happening, or like why most of the day the overall occupancy is kind of the similar the last few years, and then that evening time we're seeing a drop?
Yeah, Vice Chair Newkirk through the chair. This slide, it's important to note that it's all days of the week. So typically you'll see on weekdays, so Monday through Thursday, the morning occupancy will be up quite a bit. And then the evenings, at least from what I've seen from the Q1 data, on the weekends, the evenings have been down a little bit, I think mostly on Sunday. I apologize, I don't have more of a breakdown on that.
And if I could just add, Vice Chair Newkirk, the general trends that we're seeing, which I think this calls out really well, is more people are coming downtown to work. And more people are coming downtown overall. I think we are seeing an uptick generally. We actually did significantly impact 2 of our lots, 7 and 9, both with construction on those lots, and of course in the film center construction itself. And so we are seeing a positive uptick. As I mentioned, we'll do a full occupancy slide, and we'll get, and it's really great to see the trends kind of by the different zones of downtown, and you can start to suss that out a little bit better. But generally, this is a good news story, and the thing I think that's really important for us is that we're trying to stabilize our budget with a 5% increase in revenue, and we have a generalized natural upward trend of about that amount. So it's very slight, but it's also a very important positive trend.
One other quick comment I'll make on that also is historically when we look at occupancy, the permit holders and hourly parkers are combined. So permit holders being up over the last couple of fiscal years definitely contributes to that bigger increase that you may have seen in previous occupancy reports.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Mr. LeBray?
How many permits are there in Lot 2?
In Lot 2, we're at about just shy of 150.
150 permit?
Yeah, let's see it. I'll have it on this.
And you probably don't have an answer to this, but do you know how many permits currently Paseo Nuevo is selling? Or
I do not. I know their rate is very comparable to ours. I believe it's 165 a month. I don't have the permit count though, unfortunately. But yeah, Lot 2, just confirming that, yeah, it does have roughly 150 permits currently in that lot.
So just an impact of the Paseo Nuevo project will be, there's a bunch of permits that may be impacted. If we stick to our, our rule of not issuing permits when lots are, over 80% full, so, interesting.
Any other questions for staff or Mr. Pitney? All right, let's, excuse me, let's open up public comment. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item in person or online?
No speakers.
Okay, great. We'll close public comment. Thank you, Mr. Pitney. I think you're hopefully safe to sit down with your ankle there. Take rest, please. I'm going to follow up a little bit on a thought. It's interesting as we look at this, and I do agree with a comment that I think looking at the numbers, the trend is good. We're seeing it. It's nice to see a positive trend. We had a lot of time post-COVID of just negative trends. So I'm thankful for that. It's ironic. I kind of wish actually this report came before the other item, because I was looking at it. I'm going, well, wait, lot 2 has $150,000 per quarter, and that times that by 4. I don't know if it's equal, and half the lot's going to go away. There's a bunch of money that's going to go away, and I would have put in the letter, we're going to lose X revenue from this lot, and that should be adjusted, counted for. So I think it's a little bit also to Mr. LeBree's thought there that we currently have a number of permit holders there that will get displaced somewhere. So it highlights the issue of losing half a parking lot, basically. But there is no vote to take on this. I don't know if any other one on the committee has any other comments, thoughts regarding it. Mr. Newkirk?
I just have one, and I think I really like the slide 3. I just want to kind of highlight it, particularly for the kind of the newer members of the committee when we've talked in the past about, so I just want to kind of throw this out there for future thoughts when we're looking at budgeting. When we've talked about like reducing the free period or raising the rate, we didn't have like good data on what that might do to behavior. And so I think the information about like the free percentage and how that changed when we changed the rates, I think those are directly correlated. And it's always surprised me how much just outside of the committee meetings, how people have been aghast by our consideration of raising rates or reducing the free period. But I think some of this data, I think, does show a little scope and scale on how people change their behavior when we do those things. So we saw an increase in revenue, but there was a discernible change in behavior. And I think that's an interesting thing this table shows.
I totally agree with you. I really appreciated this slide too, and I'm looking forward to getting it stretched out longer, seeing it quarterly, but also then starting to see it annually, because, summer might do different things than winter months and, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we do see the impact to revenue is up. That was one of our main goals, but also one of our goals, as we talk about a lot, is people shopping and entertaining and doing things downtown. So it looks like they're not staying as long, but we are showing up our revenue challenges. So it's a twofold thing. Any other comments regarding this final item? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for the data. We always look forward to it, and we'll look forward to it in the next quarter. I think that is, excuse me, is that our final item? That is our final item, so we will move to adjournment. We are adjourned. Thank you. Right on time, 9:30 on the dot.